Hello everybody, this is Lori from To Live as Christ in Action and Truth, and this is day 4 of my personal blog challenge. Today I'm going to talk about priorities. I thought this was a good topic because I threw off making videos for 4 months. There has been an awful lot on my plate this year, and I think that while that's worth talking about, it's also worth talking about making time for things. I will say really quick, I was looking over my list, and there's actually, from my old one from over a year and a half ago, a lot of topics I'm not going to be covering on here for certain reasons. I really want to avoid any topics that use personal names. I will not be saying anything negative about anybody. If I say something that happened in my life, I will not say how or who it was. So I have to kind of sort through this as I'm doing this. Priorities was supposed to be number 23, but we're moving it up to number 4. Probably should have been number 1, but this is what we got. So as far as priorities go, so all of us in life, we have to choose what's important to us. And most often for us in, the 21st century, it's different things like work and your family and your spouse and your kids, and you're, trying to balance life and take care of the home and take care of yourself. And we juggle these things. I heard one time that you can only balance 5 priorities well at any given time. And I feel like I have way more than 5 priorities this year. First and foremost for me is my daughter. She is wonderful. I switched last year, around this time actually, maybe September, October, switched to 50-50 custody with her dad, which I was hesitant to do for reasons that I will not necessarily share in this vlog. So yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm gonna share these on the internet, so, oh well, you'll have that. The other thing I'll have to probably explain to some people is this. I do have a tattoo. It's a Bible verse. I've had it since January 1st of 2015. It's this is in a priorities video. Oh well, you're just gonna have to get used to my randomness. So Isaiah 43:19 is, I am doing something new. Do you not see it? I will make a way through the wilderness and streams through the desert. So God told me he was doing something new, so I got a tattoo. Not everybody's answer to after their life falls apart, but that was mine. So, priorities. My daughter, half of the time when she's with me, I'm with her for a whole week, and then she goes to her dad's for a whole week. And so trying to balance time for her during that week that she's with me, she has to be my priority. Okay. Rewind! My top priority should be God. Gosh, that's embarrassing to admit halfway through another video, or at least partway through. Randoming again. But yeah, so God should be your number 1 priority. I attempt to do that, sometimes well and sometimes not so well. I talk to God all through the day. Some intentional prayer time, but mostly me rambling off. And I always spend some time in the morning. It varies. Could be 10 minutes, could be 30 or 40, reading my Bible, and sometimes reading additional books on top of the Bible. I'm a big reader, so very often, like in the past, I've had 3 or 4 books I'm reading at a time, like my Bible, something after that, and then something before bed. That's a whole different story. So that's just me. But so yes, God is what I try to make my priority, and it's not always good. And it's very easy for people like my daughter or my fiance to uproot God's position. And I think as Christians, and it says in the Bible, like, God has to be first. If your life is going to be in any sort of controlled position where you're doing things the correct way, God has to be first. That is very often hard, especially the more that you're balancing in life, the more it's like, how do you keep God first? And I don't know, I'm not going to attempt to answer that right now, because I'm already 6 minutes in and rambling. But, so my daughter has to be a high priority. However, I am getting married in December, and Matt, my fiance, is definitely a big priority, and I want him to be. And the hard thing with that is, I do believe the Bible teaches that your spouse should be a priority above your children. With my daughter, the only reason that's at all a gray area is because she has such a different world that she goes to between my house and her dad's house. Again, not going to say anything more about that right now, but it's different. So it's trying to balance how I behave with her the weeks that I have her. She has to be a high priority, because she has to know that she's loved at my house. She has to know that, I'm like, how much do I want to say? So she has value, and that's very important. And for her, I don't know if anybody's watching this or ever will watch this, knows anything about love languages. Look into it, it's very cool. It basically describes how we feel loved. And we assume that people feel loved the same way that we do, but they don't often. My daughter definitely is a quality time person. I'm a physical touch person, so if I get cuddles and, all that sort of stuff, then I'm happy. She is a little bit, she needs some cuddles, but she needs mommy to spend time with her. So I try as hard as I can to spend some one-on-one time with her. TV doesn't count if you're sitting next to each other on the couch. That is not a quality time person's idea of quality time. So she wants to run around at the park with me. She wants to play tag with me. She wants to go play Barbies. She wants to be a teacher and play games and stuff like that. That is quality time to my daughter. So it does take a little more intentionality for her to feel loved. And that's fine. So I try that. My fiance, on the other hand, his love language is the same as mine, which is really nice because all we have to do is cuddle and then we feel loved. But, so, let me see. Yeah, honestly, I haven't talked much about Matt on here yet, but he's amazing. He's so good for me and my daughter and my family. I really think that all of us need him in one way or another. And he's just been wonderful. It's easy to keep him as a priority because right now we're still relatively fresh, and we want to spend time together. We want to do things and explore the world, and we have a ton of things in common. But no matter what and how you look at it, relationships are always something you have to be intentional about. If you're making your list of priorities, and things like that are very often the ones that go off on the side when other things get important. My job has always been an important thing. I'm an occupational therapy assistant, and this year the tables have turned on my job and on my situation, and it's the weirdest thing I've ever gone through. My priorities with my job right now, and actually, to be honest, I've been striving to try to work when my daughter's at school so I can have more time with her, because she is above my career. um, and in my attempts to do that, I may have inadvertently lost hours, and not may have inadvertently. I definitely chose to have more time with her over more money. I will have plenty of time to work in the future. She will not always be young. She will not always want to spend time with mommy. And these years are the ones when she needs me. I am not criticizing any parents who don't or can't do that. It's just how I'm setting up my priorities. So at the beginning of this year, I left a long-time job of mine for a closer job. And then my closer job fell apart. And since I'm an occupational therapy assistant, I'll just say this real quick. I have to work under a full occupational therapist. And my occupational therapist had to quit. And at first it looked like I was going to have another job. And it started out, and they made some changes there that made me, so I was 2 days a week. And they how do I say this without people thinking I'm nuts? They changed the position so that it needed to be a manager, a therapy manager, and it could have been me, and I turned down the therapy manager, partly because it would take me away from my daughter more, but also partly because I have avoided, like the plague, working in management. My very first experience with managers was when I worked at Office Max, and a manager got fired for something that she did that was actually exactly what they told her to do. And so it was, that's when I was like, no, no, I'm not going to do something that makes me responsible. Well, see, and it's not being responsible, because I'm a responsible person. I don't mind being over top of people, even though I prefer to help instead of lead. I always end up leading. That's just been my experience in life. I don't seek out those positions, but I do end up in them. But with that job, I just thought I didn't want to do management, and I didn't want to be sucked into more and more hours when I was trying to do less and less hours. Again, not to not work at all. So I said no to that position, and I ended up just being PRN. So the only thing I'm doing in occupational therapy right now is PRN, which means I help out when they need help. I have been a sewer since I was 19, so I am currently doing seamstress work on the side of my PRN hours, and I just started working at the senior center, which I mentioned in another video. The senior center is, I set it up, it's 2 days a week, and it doesn't make me lose time with my daughter. So that's working very well for me, and it's very rewarding. I like it. Other priorities this year, my mom had a stroke about 6 months ago, and I've been trying to help them as much as I can. I've been going grocery shopping for them so that my dad doesn't have to drag my mom out. She's still in a wheelchair for now. I wholeheartedly believe that she'll be back to walking at some point. She has recovered a lot. She can walk. She just needs a person with her right now because her balance is off. I honestly would love to get over there and work with her. I've been taking a step back, even though I'm a therapist. As long as she's getting therapy, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes, because I've worked in healthcare long enough to see family members that either are in the healthcare field or know a lot about medical stuff that try to control everything, and they go overboard and they freak out, and So if they're not doing exactly what I would do as a therapist, it's their clinical judgment. They're not doing anything wrong with my mom. I did not see any bad therapy, which does exist, by the way. But I'm making this an exorbitantly long video. But my mom has to be a priority right now because she needs help, and I love her. She's a wonderful mom, and my dad is doing his best to help her every day. He's been put into a caregiver position. He's never been the caregiver. My mom has been the one caring for people. So now she has to sit back and be taken care of, which is hard enough on its own. And he has to step into this caregiver role, which is very new to him. But I think he, from what I can tell, is doing a pretty good job. So let me see, what else? Priorities. Trying to take care of your house is falling off to the wayside right now. My house isn't an utter mess, but it is not as tidy as I'd like it to be. I do have a dog. I should probably put her on the priority list. She takes, I honestly feel like I'm probably not giving her enough exercise. She's a very active dog. She's a sweetheart. She's just a pain in the butt. So I'm trying to be intentional about even just spending a few times playing with her on the really busy days, or taking her for walks and, car rides and stuff like that when I can on other days. Priorities. I know I'm missing something. Right now, next weekend I'm speaking at a conference for occupational therapy, and I had to write up a presentation, which takes a lot of to do it right. You do research, and you write down the research, and you write down the references, and you have to be very thorough, because you're teaching people how to take care of other people. Mine is a shoulder rehabilitation course, which I've done an awful lot of, and I had probably a half a dozen people tell me I needed to teach a course on it, which is what made me decide to submit it well before any of my job stuff started falling apart. So, so we'll see how that goes. I'm excited. I really am. I think it'll go really well. But I had to balance that in with everything else, and the sewing, and then, just day-to-day living, just trying to figure out what you're doing, and how to be the best mom you can, how to be the best fiance that you can, how to care for each other's needs, and I also have roles in my church. I do the worship team, and I sing solos every now and then, which I love to do. And I schedule the worship team. That every once in a while feels like a added stressor, because it's kind of weird how hard it is to do that schedule sometimes, because you'll schedule somebody and then they'll cancel last minute, and then you'll scramble around and try to find somebody, and there's some great people who are really reliable, who do pick up and help. Okay, I'm rambling again, but those are my biggest priorities right now in life. So striving to keep God first. I'm not perfect at it. I don't know anyone who is perfect at it. None of us will ever be perfect this side of heaven. But I'm trying. And I think it's obvious the days that I do it well, and obvious the days that I don't, because sometimes I really lose track of what I'm doing, and get anxious and worried, and things get out of proportion, and it's, I don't know, part of life, I guess. Alright, I'm going to stop this video before it reaches 20 minutes. So, thank you. Have a great day. Still going to start looking up at that.